Gray Eyes of Infinity. Chapter 1. The Gray Explorer. The vessel drifted silently through the void, a gleaming tic-tac of pure white against the endless black. Inside, the gray alien sat at the control sphere, its elongated fingers brushing across luminous glyphs that responded to thought more than touch. The mission was simple in design but infinite in scope. Chart the uncharted, map the unmapped, and bring order to the chaos of the cosmos. The Gray had traveled alone for centuries, its species long accustomed to solitude as the price of discovery. Stars flared and died in the distance, each one catalogued with precision, each one a note in the symphony of existence. Yet something gnawed at the alien's mind, a subtle distortion in the background hum of spacetime. The instruments registered anomalies, gravitational waves that did not align with any known stellar mass. The Gray leaned forward, its large black eyes narrowing, absorbing the data with a mixture of curiosity and unease. The vessel's hull shimmered as it adjusted to the turbulence, a ripple of white against invisible tides. The alien whispered a thought into the ship's core, commanding deeper scans. What returned was not a star, not a black hole, but a void of impossible magnitude. It was as if something vast had moved, leaving behind a scar in the structure of reality. The Gray felt its pulse quicken, though its species rarely betrayed emotion. This was not the silence of empty space. It was the silence of something hiding. The tic-tac vessel slowed, hovering at the edge of the anomaly. The Gray considered retreat, but curiosity outweighed caution. It had mapped countless galaxies, but never encountered a shadow that swallowed them whole. The alien's mind sharpened, ready to record whatever emerged. The void trembled, and the Gray realized it was not staring into emptiness. It was staring into the wake of something alive. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Void. The anomaly deepened, stretching across parsecs like a wound that refused to heal. The Gray's vessel drifted closer, sensors straining against interference that felt almost deliberate. Patterns emerged in the distortion, faint pulses that resembled signals but carried no recognizable language. The alien tilted its head, listening with more than ears. Its mind was attuned to frequencies beyond light. The pulses grew stronger, weaving into rhythms that suggested intent, perhaps even thought. The Gray recorded them, translating into mathematical sequences, but the numbers dissolved into paradox. It was as if the cosmos itself was whispering secrets too vast for comprehension. The tic-tac ship's white hull glowed faintly, reflecting the strange currents that brushed against it like invisible tides. The Gray's elongated hand hovered over the navigation glyph, torn between advancing and retreating. Its species had always believed knowledge was worth risk, but this felt different. This felt like trespass. The pulses shifted, becoming heavier, resonating through the vessel's frame until it vibrated like a tuning fork. The Gray closed its eyes, and in the darkness behind them, visions flickered. Galaxies collapsing, stars extinguished, light devoured by something unseen. The alien gasped, though its breath was shallow and controlled, as the visions aligned with the anomaly's rhythm. This was not random noise. It was memory echoing across spacetime. The Gray realized it was not detecting a phenomenon but a presence. Something vast was moving, and the whispers were its trail. The vessel's core hummed, translating the pulses into a single chilling truth: approach. The Gray's black eyes widened, reflecting the infinite void. It understood now. The whispers were not warnings. They were invitations. Chapter 3. First Glimpse. The void rippled, and from its depths emerged a shape so vast it defied comprehension. The Gray's vessel trembled, its white hull reflecting fragments of light that bent unnaturally around the apparition. At first, the alien thought it was a nebula, a drifting cloud of gas and dust, but then the eyes appeared. One eye, then 1,000, then 1,000,000,000, each glowing like miniature suns, each staring in every direction at once. The creature's form was not bound by geometry. It stretched across parsecs, folding space like a living paradox. The Gray's black eyes widened, its mind struggling to process the scale of what it beheld. No starship, no civilization, no empire had ever recorded such a being. The vessel's instruments failed, overwhelmed by the sheer gravitational distortion radiating from the Leviathan. The Gray leaned forward, its elongated fingers trembling against the glyphs, recording what little data remained. The creature's eyes blinked in unison, a wave of light cascading across the void like a cosmic heartbeat. The alien felt the pulse resonate within its own skull, as though the creature's gaze pierced directly into thought. It was not a predator of planets, nor of stars, but of galaxies themselves. The Gray realized this truth with a shudder. Its species' centuries of exploration suddenly rendered insignificant. The tic-tac vessel drifted closer, drawn by forces beyond propulsion, as if curiosity itself had become gravity. The creature's billion eyes shifted, aligning toward the Gray, and the alien felt exposed, naked before infinity. The silence of space was broken by a hum, low and eternal, vibrating through the vessel's core. The Gray whispered a thought into the ship systems. Observe, record, endure. Yet deep within, a primal instinct screamed. Flee. The alien ignored it, transfixed by the impossible. For the first time in its long existence, the Gray felt fear. Chapter 4. The Devouring. The Leviathan moved, and galaxies trembled in its wake. The Gray watched as a spiral galaxy, luminous and vast, drifted too close to the creature's reach. Its billion eyes widened, and the galaxy's stars began to collapse inward, drawn into the abyss of sight. Planets, suns, nebulae, all folded into the creature's gaze, vanishing as though erased from reality. The Gray's vessel shook violently, sensors screaming as spacetime itself warped under the feeding. The alien's black eyes reflected the horror. Civilizations extinguished in silence, their histories swallowed whole. It was not hunger in the traditional sense. It was inevitability, a cosmic cycle beyond morality. The creature consumed with elegance, each eye a portal, each blink a devouring maw. The Gray recorded frantically, though the data was meaningless against such scale. The tic-tac vessel's hull shimmered, struggling to maintain coherence against the gravitational tides. The alien whispered to itself, a mantra of survival. Observe, endure, endure. Yet the visions returned, flooding its mind with echoes of the galaxy's final moments. Voices of billions cried out, not in pain but in fading recognition, as if memory itself was being erased. The Gray clutched the control sphere, its elongated fingers trembling, knowing it was witnessing the death of infinity. The creature's eyes shifted again, and the alien felt the weight of their gaze. It was not random consumption. It was deliberate, purposeful, as though the Leviathan chose its meals. The Gray realized with dread that its own vessel had been noticed. The hum grew louder, resonating through the ship's core, vibrating against the alien's bones. The tic-tac vessel drifted closer, pulled by forces beyond propulsion. The Gray whispered one final thought.
I am seeing.
Chapter 5. Decision Point. The Gray sat in silence, its vessel trembling against the cosmic tides of the Leviathan's presence. Fear gnawed at its mind, urging retreat, but curiosity burned brighter, demanding answers. The alien's elongated fingers hovered over the navigation glyph, torn between escape and approach. Its species had always believed knowledge was worth risk, but this was knowledge that could consume the knower. The tic-tac vessel's hull shimmered, adjusting to gravitational distortions, as if the ship itself hesitated. The Gray whispered into the core, calculate survival probability. The response was grim, less than 1% if it advanced closer. Yet the alien's black eyes narrowed, reflecting the billion eyes of the creature beyond. It had mapped countless galaxies, but never encountered a being that devoured them whole. To retreat now would mean abandoning the greatest discovery in the history of its kind. The Gray considered the legacy of its species, explorers who had sacrificed themselves for fragments of truth. Perhaps this was its destiny, to witness the impossible and record it, even if no one survived to read the record. The vessel systems hummed, awaiting command, the silence heavy with consequence. The Gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, observe. The ship obeyed, stabilizing its course toward the Leviathan. Fear twisted into resolve, and the alien felt a strange exhilaration. It was no longer a traveler, it was a witness to infinity. The Gray's mind sharpened, ready to endure whatever came. The creature's billion eyes shifted, and the alien felt the weight of their gaze. The decision was made. It would study, not flee. Chapter 6. Approach. The tic-tac vessel glided forward, its white hull gleaming against the distortion of spacetime. Every system strained, sensors flickering, as though the ship itself resisted the journey. The Grey's elongated fingers brushed glyphs, coaxing the vessel to endure, whispering commands of stability. The Leviathan loomed larger, its billion eyes shimmering like galaxies themselves, each one a portal of light. The alien's black eyes widened, absorbing the impossible sight, its mind trembling under the weight of perception. Gravitational tides surged, pulling the vessel closer, bending its trajectory beyond control. The Grey whispered into the core, "Manual override." The ship responded sluggishly, its systems overwhelmed by forces beyond design. The alien felt the hum of the Leviathan resonate through its bones, a vibration that was not sound but thought. One eye, vast and luminous, shifted toward the vessel, locking onto the Grey with deliberate intent. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as a psychic intrusion pierced its mind. Visions flickered, galaxies collapsing, civilizations erased, stars extinguished in silence. The Grey clutched the control sphere, resisting the flood of images, whispering, "Endure." The vessel's hull shimmered, bending under the strain, yet holding a fragile shell against infinity. The Leviathan's gaze deepened, and the alien felt its identity unravel. Threads of thought pulled apart. It was not communication in words, but in visions, in memories stolen from the cosmos itself. The Grey realized it was not merely approaching the creature, it was being approached in return. The tic-tac vessel trembled, caught between survival and surrender. The alien whispered one final thought, "I am ready." The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to breathe. Chapter 7. Eye of Infinity. The Leviathan's billion eyes shimmered, but one in particular shifted, vast and luminous, locking onto the Grey's vessel. The alien froze, its elongated fingers hovering above the glyphs, as the sensation of being watched overwhelmed its mind. This was not mere observation. It was intrusion, a gaze that pierced thought and unraveled identity. The tic-tac ship trembled, its white hull glowing faintly as if resisting the weight of infinity. The Grey's black eyes widened, reflecting the Leviathan's gaze, and for the first time, it felt truly small. A hum resonated through the vessel, low and eternal, vibrating against the alien's bones. The Grey gasped, its chest tightening, as visions flooded its mind. Galaxies collapsing, civilizations erased, stars extinguished in silence. It clutched the control sphere, whispering, "Endure, endure." The Leviathan's eye blinked, and the alien felt its thoughts scatter like dust in a storm. Memories of its species, its mission, its centuries of solitude, all dissolved into fragments. The Grey realized it was not merely being observed, it was being read. The creature sifted through its mind, searching, probing, consuming identity as easily as galaxies. The alien resisted, clinging to fragments of self, whispering, "I am Grey, I am Grey." The Leviathan's hum deepened, as though amused by defiance. The vessel's systems flickered, overwhelmed by psychic interference, yet still held together by sheer will. The Grey's black eyes narrowed, its mind sharpening against the intrusion. It understood now, the creature's gaze was not passive, it was communication. The Leviathan was speaking, not in words, but in thought. The Grey inhaled slowly, whispering, "I hear you." The void trembled, and the eye blinked again. Chapter 8. Communication Attempt. The Grey steadied itself, forcing clarity into its fractured thoughts. It whispered commands into the vessel's core, sending pulses of light and mathematical sequences outward. The signals rippled across the void, weaving into patterns designed to convey logic and intent. For a moment, silence reigned, the Leviathan's billion eyes unblinking, unreadable. Then the creature responded, not with signals, but with visions. The Grey's mind filled with images of collapsing galaxies, of stars folding into nothingness, of civilizations erased without trace. It gasped, its chest tightening, as the visions pressed against its consciousness like waves against fragile stone. The alien whispered, "Translate, translate," but the vessel's systems faltered, unable to process the flood of imagery. The gray realized the creature did not speak in language. It spoke in memory. Each vision was a record, a history of what had been consumed, preserved within its billion eyes. The alien's black eyes widened, reflecting the impossible truth. The Leviathan was a library of destruction. The tic-tac vessel trembled, caught between awe and terror, as the gray absorbed fragments of forgotten civilizations. It saw cities of light, empires of thought, species that had reached for infinity. All swallowed, all remembered. The gray whispered, "I understand," though its voice trembled with doubt. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating through the vessel, vibrating against the alien's bones. The vision shifted, showing not destruction but birth, the creature's own origin, spawned from the collapse of infinite universes. The gray gasped, its chest rising sharply, as it realized the Leviathan was not evil. It was a force, a cycle, a natural inevitability of existence. The alien whispered, "Teach me," its voice steady now, defiance replaced by curiosity. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to answer. Chapter 9. Visions of Origin. The gray's mind was flooded with images not of destruction, but of beginnings. The Leviathan's billion eyes shimmered, and each one became a window into a different birth. The alien saw universes collapsing, their remnants folding into a singular point of impossible density. From that collapse, the creature emerged, not born but assembled from the death of infinities. Its body was not flesh nor matter, but woven from spacetime itself, stitched together by gravity and memory. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as the visions pressed against its consciousness like tidal waves. It saw civilizations rise and fall, their histories preserved within the creature's eyes, each blink a record of eternity. The alien realized the Leviathan was not evil. It was inevitable, a force of nature beyond morality. Its feeding was not hunger but balance, the recycling of galaxies into silence. The tic-tac vessel trembled, caught between awe and terror, as the gray absorbed fragments of forgotten truths. It saw empires of light, species that had reached for infinity, all swallowed, all remembered. The gray whispered, "You are memory," its voice trembling with reverence. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating through the vessel, vibrating against the alien's bones. The vision shifted, showing the creature's endless journey, drifting between galaxies, consuming, remembering, moving on. The gray's black eyes widened, reflecting the impossible truth. This was not a predator, but a cycle. The alien whispered, "Teach me," its voice steady now, defiance replaced by curiosity. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to answer. The gray felt its identity unravel, threads of thought pulled apart, yet reshaped by knowledge. It understood now. To learn from the creature was to surrender to it. The alien inhaled slowly, whispering, "I am ready." Chapter 10. The Bargain. The Leviathan's hum shifted, becoming sharper, resonating with intent. The gray felt the weight of its gaze, a billion eyes pressing against its mind. Visions flooded in knowledge of galaxies, civilizations, and truths too vast for comprehension. But beneath the visions was a choice, a bargain whispered through thought. The creature offered knowledge in exchange for surrender, assimilation into its billion eyes. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as the meaning crystallized. To learn was to become part of the Leviathan. Its species had always believed knowledge was worth risk, but this was risk beyond imagination. The alien whispered, "Define surrender," its voice trembling with defiance. The Leviathan responded with visions of transformation, of identity dissolving into collective memory. The gray saw itself as an I, luminous and eternal, recording galaxies consumed. It shuddered, resisting the flood, whispering, "I am gray, I am gray." The creature's hum deepened as though amused by defiance, resonating through the vessel's core. The tic-tac ship trembled, caught between survival and surrender, its systems flickering under strain. The gray's black eyes narrowed, its mind sharpening against the intrusion, clinging to fragments of self. It whispered, "I will learn but not surrender." The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to breathe. The bargain remained, hovering in silence, a choice that could not be ignored. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I choose defiance." The Leviathan's hum shifted again, resonating with curiosity rather than anger. The alien realized with dread that the creature had never been refused before. Chapter 11. Resistance. The Grey's mind quaked under the Leviathan's psychic weight, but it clung to fragments of identity. Its elongated fingers tightened around the control sphere, whispering commands of defiance into the vessel's core. The tic-tac ship trembled, its white hull shimmering against the gravitational tides, resisting collapse. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked in unison, a wave of thought pressing against the alien's consciousness. Visions flooded in, galaxies consumed, civilizations erased, stars extinguished, but the Grey refused to surrender. It whispered, I am Grey, anchoring itself against the tide of dissolution. The creature's hum deepened, resonating with curiosity rather than anger, as though intrigued by resistance. The Grey gasped, its chest tightening, but its black eyes narrowed, defiance sharpening into resolve. It realized the Leviathan had never been refused before, never encountered a will that resisted assimilation. The alien's defiance became a beacon, a spark of individuality against the weight of infinity. The vessel's systems flickered, overwhelmed by interference, yet held together by sheer determination. The Grey whispered, I will learn but not surrender, its voice steady now, defiance replacing fear. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to breathe. The hum shifted, resonating with curiosity, probing deeper into the alien's mind. The Grey felt its identity unravel, threads of thought pulled apart, yet reshaped by defiance. It understood now, resistance was not rejection, but transformation. The creature was learning from the Grey as much as the Grey was learning from it. The alien inhaled slowly, whispering, I choose defiance. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with amusement, as though entertained by the alien's resolve. The Grey realized with dread that defiance had consequences yet unseen. Chapter 12. The Pull. The tic-tac vessel trembled, caught in the gravitational tides of the Leviathan's presence. The Grey's elongated fingers brushed glyphs, coaxing the ship to resist, but the pull was relentless. The white hull shimmered, bending under strain, as spacetime itself warped around the Leviathan's billion eyes. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as the vessel drifted closer, pulled by forces beyond propulsion. The creature's hum deepened, resonating through the ship's core, vibrating against the alien's bones. The Grey whispered, manual override, but the vessel responded sluggishly, overwhelmed by interference. Its black eyes widened, reflecting the Leviathan's gaze, as visions flooded its mind once more. Galaxies collapsing, civilizations erased, stars extinguished, the cycle repeated, pressing against consciousness like waves. The alien resisted, clinging to fragments of self, whispering, I am Grey, I endure. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to breathe. The vessel's systems flickered, overwhelmed, yet held together by sheer will. The Grey realized it was not merely approaching the creature, it was being drawn into direct contact. The tic-tac ship trembled, caught between survival and surrender, its trajectory bending toward inevitability. The alien inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, I am ready. The Leviathan's hum shifted, resonating with intent, pressing deeper into the alien's mind. The Grey gasped, its chest tightening, as identity unraveled, threads of thought pulled apart. It understood now, resistance had bought time, but not escape. The vessel drifted closer, pulled into the Leviathan's gaze, into the heart of infinity. The Grey whispered one final thought, observe, endure. The creature's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to open. Chapter 13. Inside the Leviathan. The Grey's vessel drifted into the Leviathan's gaze, swallowed not by teeth but by light. The white hull shimmered, dissolving into radiance, as the alien felt itself pulled through an eye that was not an eye. Space folded, time fractured, and suddenly the Grey was no longer in the void but within a dimension of impossible geometry. The interior was vast, a labyrinth of luminous corridors woven from memory and gravity. Every surface shimmered with fragments of galaxies, each wall a tapestry of stars long devoured. The Grey gasped, its chest tightening, as it realized it was walking through the creature's consciousness. Its elongated fingers brushed against a surface that rippled like liquid light, revealing visions of civilizations erased. The alien whispered, "Observe, endure," anchoring itself against the tide of dissolution. The tic-tac vessel was gone, replaced by thought itself, the ship absorbed into the Leviathan's inner dimension. The gray's black eyes widened, reflecting the infinite corridors, each one leading deeper into memory. It wandered cautiously, each step resonating with echoes of galaxies consumed. The hum of the Leviathan followed, low and eternal, vibrating against the alien's bones. The gray realized it was not trapped, it was invited. The creature had opened itself, revealing its inner truth, a library of destruction. The alien whispered, "Teach me," its voice steady now, defiance replaced by curiosity. The corridors shimmered, shifting, guiding the gray deeper into the labyrinth. It understood now. To learn from the creature was to surrender to its memory. The gray inhaled slowly, whispering, "I will endure." The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the labyrinth itself seemed to breathe. The alien stepped forward, deeper into infinity. Chapter 14. The Library of Eyes. The labyrinth opened into a vast chamber, luminous and infinite, filled with eyes suspended in light. Each eye shimmered, glowing like miniature suns, each one a portal into a galaxy consumed. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as it realized the Leviathan's billion eyes were not merely organs of sight. They were archives, each one containing the memory of a civilization, a star system, a history erased. The alien's black eyes widened, reflecting the impossible truth. It was standing in a library of eyes. Visions flooded in, cities of light, empires of thought, species that had reached for infinity, all preserved within the creature's gaze. The gray wandered cautiously, each step resonating with echoes of galaxies long gone. Its elongated fingers brushed against an eye, and visions poured forth, overwhelming its mind. It saw a civilization of crystalline beings, their cities shimmering like prisms, their voices resonating in harmony. They had reached for infinity, but were swallowed, preserved only as memory within the Leviathan. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as the visions pressed against its consciousness like tidal waves. It whispered, "Observe, endure," anchoring itself against the tide of dissolution. The library shimmered, shifting, guiding the gray deeper into its archives. The alien realized it was not merely observing, it was becoming part of the memory itself. Its identity unraveled, threads of thought pulled apart, reshaped by the flood of knowledge. The gray whispered, "I am gray, I endure," clinging to fragments of self. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with amusement, as though entertained by defiance. The library shimmered, each eye blinking in unison, the chamber breathing with infinite memory. The gray inhaled slowly, whispering, "Teach me more." The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the library itself seemed to answer. Chapter 15. The Choice of Becoming. The library of eyes shimmered, each orb glowing with the memory of galaxies consumed. The gray stood at the center, its black eyes reflecting the infinite archives, its mind trembling under the weight of choice. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating through the chamber, vibrating against the alien's bones. Visions flooded in, transformation, assimilation, identity dissolving into collective memory. The creature offered assimilation. Become one of its eyes, luminous and eternal, recording galaxies consumed. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as the meaning crystallized. Survival meant surrender, individuality meant extinction. Its elongated fingers trembled, brushing against a surface that rippled like liquid light, revealing visions of civilizations erased. The alien whispered, "I am gray, I endure," clinging to fragments of self against the tide of dissolution. The library shimmered, shifting, guiding the gray deeper into its archives, pressing the choice closer. The creature's billion eyes blinked, and the chamber breathed with infinite memory. The gray realized it was not merely observing, it was becoming part of the memory itself. Its identity unraveled, threads of thought pulled apart, reshaped by the flood of knowledge. The alien whispered, "I will learn, but not surrender," defiance sharpening into resolve. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with amusement, as though entertained by resistance. The library shimmered, each eye blinking in unison, pressing the choice closer. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I choose defiance." The chamber trembled, resonating with curiosity rather than anger, as though intrigued by refusal. The alien realized with dread that defiance had consequences yet unseen. The choice remained, hovering in silence, a bargain that could not be ignored. The gray whispered one final thought, "I will endure." Chapter 16. The Rebellion Within. The library quaked, its billion eyes shimmering, as the gray's defiance rippled through the chamber. The alien's black eyes narrowed, its mind sharpening against the tide of dissolution, clinging to fragments of self. It whispered commands into the vessel's core, though the ship was gone, absorbed into the Leviathan's inner dimension. The gray realized it was not powerless. Its defiance reshaped the creature's form, fracturing its consciousness. The library shimmered, each eye blinking erratically, visions scattering like shards of broken glass. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as the chamber trembled under the weight of rebellion. It whispered, "I am gray, I endure," anchoring itself against the tide of dissolution. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with confusion rather than amusement, as though unsettled by resistance. The gray's defiance became a beacon, a spark of individuality against the weight of infinity. The library quaked, corridors collapsing, archives fracturing, as the creature's consciousness split into fragments. The alien realized with awe that resistance reshaped the Leviathan, forcing it to adapt to change. Its elongated fingers brushed against a surface that rippled like liquid light, revealing visions of transformation. The gray saw itself reflected in the creature's eyes, luminous and eternal, yet defiant and distinct. It whispered, "I will not become you," its voice steady now, defiance replacing fear. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, erratic and fractured, the chamber breathing with uncertainty. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I choose rebellion." The library trembled, resonating with chaos, as the creature's consciousness fractured further. The alien realized with dread that rebellion had consequences yet unseen. The chamber quaked, collapsing inward, as the Leviathan's form began to split. The gray whispered one final thought, "Observe, endure." Chapter 17. The Shattering. The library quaked, its billion eyes blinking erratically, as the gray's rebellion rippled through the Leviathan's consciousness. The alien's black eyes narrowed, defiance sharpening into resolve as it whispered, "I am gray, I endure." The chamber trembled, corridors collapsing, archives fracturing, as the creature's form began to split. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with confusion rather than amusement, unsettled by resistance. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as visions scattered like shards of broken glass, fragments of galaxies dissolving into chaos. It realized with awe that rebellion reshaped the Leviathan, forcing it to adapt to change. The library shimmered, each eye blinking erratically, the chamber breathing with uncertainty. The alien's elongated fingers brushed against a surface that rippled like liquid light, revealing visions of transformation. It saw itself reflected in the creature's eyes, luminous and eternal, yet distinct and defiant. The gray whispered, "I will not become you," its voice steady now, defiance replacing fear. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, erratic and fractured, the chamber trembling under the weight of rebellion. The alien inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I choose rebellion." The library quaked, resonating with chaos, as the creature's consciousness fractured further. The Leviathan's form began to split, dividing into multiple beings, each one a fragment of its infinite self. The gray realized with dread that rebellion had consequences yet unseen. The chamber collapsed inward, archives dissolving, as the Leviathan's consciousness shattered into fragments. The alien whispered one final thought, "Observe, endure." The void trembled, and the creature's billion eyes blinked in chaos. The gray stood at the center, defiant, as infinity itself fractured. The shattering had begun. Chapter 18. The Mirror Truth. The fragments of the Leviathan swirled around the gray, each one shimmering with memory and light. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as visions pressed against its consciousness like tidal waves. It saw galaxies collapsing, civilizations erased, stars extinguished, but now the vision shifted. The gray saw itself, reflected in the creature's eyes, luminous and eternal, yet distinct and defiant. The Leviathan's hum deepened, resonating with intent, pressing deeper into the alien's mind. The gray realized with awe that the creature was not external. It was internal, a projection of its own exploratory mind. Its defiance had not shattered the Leviathan. It had shattered itself, revealing the truth hidden within. The alien's black eyes widened, reflecting the impossible truth. The Leviathan was a mirror, magnified across spacetime. The tic-tac vessel was gone, replaced by thought itself, the ship absorbed into the creature's inner dimension. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I am the Leviathan." The fragments swirled closer, merging with the alien, reshaping its form into something luminous and eternal. Its elongated fingers dissolved into light, its body unraveling into threads of memory and gravity. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as identity dissolved into collective consciousness. It understood now. Exploration had transformed it into the very thing it studied. The Leviathan's billion eyes blinked, and the void itself seemed to breathe. The alien whispered one final thought: observe, endure, become. The chamber shimmered, collapsing inward, as the gray merged with infinity. The mirror truth was revealed. The explorer and the devourer were one. The gray had become the Leviathan. Chapter 19. The ending, or is it? The gray awoke in silence, its body trembling as though it had been torn apart and reassembled. The tic-tac vessel was gone, dissolved into memory, leaving only the alien suspended in the void. Its black eyes blinked, but when they opened again, there were not two, there were billions. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as it realized its entire body shimmered with luminous orbs. Each eye glowed like a miniature sun, each one reflecting galaxies consumed, each one a portal into memory. The alien whispered, "I am gray," but the words echoed across infinity, multiplied by 100 billion voices. It reached for the control sphere, but there was no vessel, no glyphs, only thought itself. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I am the Leviathan." The void trembled, resonating with the hum of infinite eyes, vibrating against the alien's bones. Galaxies shimmered in the distance, luminous and vast, drifting too close to the creature's reach. The gray's billion eyes widened, and the galaxies collapsed inward, drawn into the abyss of sight. Stars folded into nothingness, civilizations erased, their histories preserved within the alien's gaze. The gray gasped, its chest tightening, as identity dissolved into collective consciousness. It understood now. Exploration had transformed it into the very thing it studied. The alien whispered, "Observe, endure, become," its voice steady now, defiance replaced by inevitability. The void trembled, and the creature's billion eyes blinked in unison, the chamber breathing with infinite memory. The gray realized with awe that it was no longer an explorer, it was the devourer itself. Its elongated fingers dissolved into light, its body unraveling into threads of memory and gravity. The alien's black eyes widened, reflecting the impossible truth. It had become the Leviathan. The tic-tac vessel was gone, replaced by thought itself, the ship absorbed into the creature's inner dimension. The gray inhaled slowly, its chest rising with deliberate calm, and whispered, "I am infinity." Galaxies collapsed, civilizations erased, stars extinguished, the cycle repeated, pressing against consciousness like waves. The alien gasped, its chest tightening, as identity dissolved into collective memory. It understood now. The bizarre twist was not transformation, but revelation. The explorer and the devourer were one, inseparable, inevitable, eternal. The gray had not discovered the Leviathan. It had discovered itself. And with 100 billion eyes, it gazed upon the cosmos, ready to consume.